So with the three videos that you just watched, the common denominator is that I was really panting, and this is one of the things that I often see in people that run for cardio is that it's such a hard physical activity that they're actually hyperventilating and taking away from what we want with aerobic training, which is breathing through the nose with the tongue at the roof of the mouth. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about how to optimally do aerobic training with nasal breathing in a couple different formats. So one of the reasons why I favor building up to running when we're talking about aerobic training versus jumping right in is because we want to land properly. And what I mean by that is as the foot lands on the ground, we land closer to our heel, our foot rolls in and we sort of push off. And that distribution of weight over the foot is going to allow for the muscles around my knees, around my back to kind of bear the load versus my joints. Whereas if I just jump into running, especially if I haven't been doing it in a while, is that we land closer to the middle of our foot doesn't spend as much time on the ground, and as a result we get a lot more sort of loading and shock in our knees and our joints. And so that's why with a program like a Couch to 5K, which is an interval run, I really favor that. That's a great program, and it's something that, you know, I use a lot with modifications. And what I mean by that is we do like a minute of running followed by a minute of a drill that I'm going to show you in a second that is going to help to kind of put your foot in the right position to optimally distribute load. So as with the Couch to 5K, we work from sort of more time spent resting to less time spent resting and more time spent running. But the drill that I mean is, you know, we're going to do a drill, we're going to do a minute, let's say, of jogging or running, and we're going to follow that up with a minute of what we call retro walks. And what that means is that I'm going to literally walk backwards where I put my weight in my heel, I shift back, I hold for a second so I can feel the back of my foot as well as my hamstring, and I just alternate backwards. Okay, and just by doing this, even for 30 seconds, while I'm recovering, I'm going to shift my center of gravity back. I'm going to give myself a better opportunity to run and sort of put load in the right places, and it's going to give me just a better foundation to help this to carry over, so my body becomes a better shock absorber. Okay, and so we build up to this point where, you know, when you're running and you're doing these longer runs, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, as you get better, you know, you can always stop if you start to feel your knees. You know, you can knock out a couple of these movements to help to kind of put your muscles and your joints back into a better position, and then you can go about your business. And so what I'm going to do is just demonstrate the run followed by a recovery exercise. All right, so if you're like us here in Florida, it's about 150 degrees outside, you may need an option that is indoors. And understanding that, when we're trying to prepare our body for running, we want to do movements that are similar, and we want to kind of prepare the muscles and the tissues that are going to kind of be bearing loads. So in this situation, another kind of format that I like are kind of 30-30 intervals, where we're doing like 30 seconds of work at a moderate pace and 30 seconds of rest. And you can really play with those based upon your ability to kind of keep breathing through your nose. So as I get better at that, I could do 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds off. I could progress to 60 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Again, just moving at a moderate pace and breathing through our nose. And so for this particular thing, I would start for 30 seconds of work, followed by just 30 seconds probably of just, you know, walking or doing some of the recovery drills that we talked about. But using this as an example, I'm going to give you 3 exercises that are kind of mimic running, and then just kind of get your heart rate up a bit. So exercise 1, we're doing for 30 seconds, which is just be an alternating reverse lunge, okay, with a rotation to our stance side. Okay, so again, I can move faster, I can move slower, I can sort of I could add in some plyos if I wanted to, based upon what I'm able to do. Exercise 2, just an alternating curl press. Again, if I wanted to make this one harder, I've just got a yoga block here. I could hold a dumbbell, I could hold a kettlebell. And last exercise would just be something like a single leg hops, single leg jumps, pogo hops. And again, this is just kind of conditioning our calves, our lower legs to do work here. You know, if I wanted to make this harder, certainly I could do it on one leg. Just make sure that, you know, you're able to kind of push off through the base of your foot. You know, that feels good. But again, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off initially, progress the interval, continue to breathe through your nose, maybe knock out some recovery exercises that we demonstrated in your rest period, and that's your next format. So to summarize our aerobic training options, one, this is what we call aerobic capacity work. So we want to be breathing through our nose with a goal of going long. Okay, I want to be able to do anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes of continuous activity at a time, and what we can do at a moderate pace. Okay, and we're using our nasal breathing, tongue at the roof of the mouth, as a mediator for that. So if I start to hyperventilate or I find that my breathing starts to get shorter, I want to slow down. And choosing the right option for me based upon what you want to do. Okay, if we want to start to incorporate running, what I would recommend is use one of the formats we talked about, incorporate shorter runs initially and then lengthen that out, or do sort of run walk that we talked about based upon your, what you could do. But again, just think about continuing that same moderate pace. Don't worry about how much distance you cover or how fast you're going in this. It's just about going longer. So the goal would be, the progression would be to lengthen things out longer. So with intervals, progressing from 30 on, 30 off to 60 on, 30 off at the same decent pace. If we're talking circuits, going from maybe 5 minutes at a time to 10 to 15 minutes at a time. If we're talking about your run walks, obviously look at the couch to 5K, but going from anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes of running and then longer rest periods to begin with, to longer periods of running and shorter rest periods. But again, use that nasal breathing with the tongue at the roof of your mouth as your guide to how to pace yourself and build up to longer periods of time.